Hey everyone, Lynette here. I just wanted to show you my process for putting together a weekly project life spread. Today I'm working in Photoshop Elements 13 and I'm going to be using the My Tribe kit by Amber LaBau Designs. And I've sped this video up so you can see I've already gotten started on it. I'm just going to kind of walk through with you. This spread took me about 40 minutes to do. I've sped it up just so the video won't be so long. You can see that I already have my spread open. The templates that I use are no longer available for purchase. They're an older retired set from Gennifer Bursett Designs. But I've got those open next to each other, and I also have my photos from the week in my photo bin. So you can see I'm working on those. I'm using RadLab to edit these as I go. So that's just what was open there. And you'll see me use that as I go through each photo. I do those as I go rather than doing them ahead of time or whatever. And I usually start with the title card, which you can see I did, and I added a pattern paper and I got the week 9 on there. And I went ahead and just left it. I'm probably not done with that yet. And I moved on to starting to place some of my photos, and you can see I play around with where they go. I've already moved them to different places, and I kind of take into account how many landscape photos I have, how many portrait photos, and that kind of helps me decide where they go. And then I'll start pulling in cards here, and I just kind of pick the ones that I like. I like to do a mix of journal cards where there's room for journaling, and then a mix of other cards with different sentiments or designs on them. So I'm just kind of playing around, trying to see what I like, going back to my photos, seeing how many photos I have and where I want to place them. Sometimes I'll have a lot of portrait photos rather than landscape, just because I use my phone so much, and that's kind of the natural way. I don't usually turn my phone a whole lot. I do sometimes, but I end up with more portrait photos. So that's kind of the case this week. And so sometimes I will combine those onto a 4x6 card, maybe put 2 of them next to each other, but not always. I've decided to use my 3x4 spots for a lot of those portrait photos. And then I'll use, as you can see, my 4x6 spot for a big journaling card there. And again, going back to my photos, trying to decide which ones to use for the week. I'll usually go through and only open up the ones I think I want to use. Even if there's more than I have room for, I'll open them in Photoshop, and then once they're already open in there, I will kind of decide which ones will make the cut. So I'm constantly going back and forth between photos and the papers and elements. Again, I'm playing with my title card again, trying to decide, nope, don't like that paper. I finally went with the wood grain, which I was kind of thinking I wouldn't because I love wood grain, but I feel like because of that I overuse it. But I ended up with it anyway just because I love how it looks. So there again, I'm playing. I usually do some sort of a label. And this kit didn't have a ton of options that way, so I ended up kind of cropping that bottom part of my label off just because I liked the look better that way. And I'm playing with some other options. As you can see, I played with some little elements there, decided I didn't want those after all, changing up the label again, adding a little bit of paint behind. I like to add paint on wood grain, I like that look. Okay, so I kind of got my left page filled up. That's usually what happens as I scrap. I kind of work from left to right. Even though I kind of know what's going to go where as I scrap, but I just usually fill up the left side first. Again, I spend a lot of time looking through the kit, looking at the different elements, thinking about what I want. And again, I'm going back to editing photos. If you've never used RadLab, I highly recommend it. It is a plugin, which means it's a program a separate program, but it works within the Photoshop program. and it just installs an extra little icon on the left there, on the bottom left, and anytime I click that it will open up RadLab, and I can adjust my photos in there, and I love the flexibility of it and all the different options. There you can see there's sliders on the right there that I'm adjusting, and then I'm saving it and dragging it on. I also love to add black and white photos, especially if a photo doesn't match kind of the colors of the kit I'm using, but I want to add it to my spread. I'll use black and white quite a bit. Another thing I do a lot is I'll have a portrait photo like this one, but I need to fill a 4x6 landscape card, and so I will just kind of make my own a little mini layout, I guess, inside that 4x6 spot. So you can see here I put that in the top left, that photo there, and I'll come back to that. And then I knew I was out of landscape photos and things, so in the bottom right I added a 4x6 card to fill out the page. So back to my photos, I'm trying to just decide, I don't have many spots left, and so I'm trying to decide which photos I want to include, because not all of them are going to make the cut, which I'm fine with, by the way. I like to keep my spreads to 2 pages. I'm okay with not including every single photo and every single thing in my Project Life pages. I just want it to be more of a glimpse of our life right now, and so I'm not too picky about including every little thing. So going back to that top left spot, 4x6 spot, I'm going to add some more things to tell that little story. It's a little note my daughter wrote to the Tooth Fairy. So I'm going to add this picture of her with it to kind of help tell that story, since it was her note. And that photo was just one I had taken of her during the week, and I kind of liked that one. I didn't necessarily take it at the same time as that note she wrote, but it fits in perfectly with the story. So we're going to add that. And then what I'm doing here is I'm adding a little white border to all my photos. I really like this look. I do it anytime I have a photo that fills up the whole slot, 3x4 or 4x6 slot. So it's in Photoshop it's called a stroke. And I just go edit, enhance, stroke, and then I set it to white and 35 pixels. And it just adds that nice clean border. And my next thing is to add a few fun little embellishments. I love leaves. I love little word strips. I'll add a lot of those. This kit didn't have a ton that I wanted to use that really applied to this layout, but you'll see me go back and forth and keep looking at those and selecting the ones I want. I love staples. I added that little staple to my label just to kind of add a little something extra there. Again, back to the word strips. I like to add those over my photos a lot of times, just to add a little something to each pocket. More word art on that photo. My tribe, that was perfect. This event, there was a lot of family there to support my son in this event of his. And now, one of the last things I do is all my journaling. So I put the date on that little label on the title card, and then I'm checking my date, make sure I got it right, and then I fill in my journaling with all of the happenings for the week. And a lot of times I include things here that I don't have photos of. I jot down notes every day, and all throughout the week I have a notebook, keep it right by my laptop, so that when I am doing a Project Life spread, I can easily refer to it and get all those little details that I want to include. And like I said, a lot of times I don't have photos for every event, but I'm okay with that. I don't like to get too hung up on it, so I like to have lots of journaling space on my pages so that I can include details. And this spot, I'm just journaling about that little note and her lost tooth. So I'm keeping that story kind of contained in that pocket. And then I've got a couple more places to fill in with journaling. So I'm going to add some details on this 3x4 card, and then you'll see in a second I will add a few more things to the one on the 4x6 card on the bottom right. And I'm constantly double checking back at that notebook, making sure that I get all the things that I want to, and that it fits neatly in this space. And this card seemed a little empty still, so I'm just going to go through, look at the embellishments in the kit, and see what else I can add to kind of spruce it up. And other weeks, some weeks I embellish more, some weeks I embellish less. I do like to keep it pretty simple. I love that feather, and I tried to make it work here. You'll see I'm kind of playing around with it, and I ended up deciding not to use it, and adding some little word strips instead. So that's it. My page is now done. I'm going to go ahead and save each side. And in the notes of this video, I will add links to the products that I used. And if you've got any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'd be happy.